We spoke with Alan Nevin. He talked to us about how real estate's going to grow between 6 and 8% in this next year. He also indicated that if interest rates rise, it's really not going to have a big effect until interest rates get over 6%. We talked to Glenn and Shannon at the Alliance Group. They showed us how to stop our money from falling through the cracks by selecting the right realtor, staging our property, pricing it, negotiating it, the whole shot before we sell. Proper planning there. Then we talked to Bill Exeter about 1031 exchanges and how to utilize that, whether you're transitioning out of your rental properties, whether you're selling your primary residence, whether you're downsizing your primary residence. Now we're getting into a little bit more in taxes. So at first I have this case. If you take a look at your screen, you're going to see up on the screen it says a married couple age 62, 63. They get about $25,000 from Social Security. They've got pensions, real estate investment trust income, $35,000 in income from rentals, and they've got, hey, that's $94,000 a year. They want it tax-free. Hey, if you have $94,000 a year, you're probably going to spend about $8,000 a year in taxes. But if you take a look at the next slide, which is a tax slide, you'll notice that their taxes is zero. So why is this? When we move on to the next slide, you'll see the couple owns 3 rental properties totaling $1.5 million. Now, that's $42,000 in depreciation that they're able to write off on their taxes. That's just wonderful. It creates a zero tax basis for them. And everybody would love to be zero. But you know what? What if you no longer want to be in rental properties? Okay? Then you have some options. Those options are Delaware Statutory Trust, Real Estate Investment Trust, as well as oil and gas contracts. We've brought in an alternative investment expert, Don Meredith. Don's been around for almost 20 years now, or more than 20 years.
That's right.
Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
You're an old timer, huh?
Yeah.
Now you'll notice that Don is a financial planner just like I am. But you know what? I'm not an expert in alternative investment. Don is. That's why we defer to him. So I've asked Don to step in and talk to us about how Delaware Statutory Trusts work. Go ahead, Don.
Steve, Delaware Statutory Trusts have become an option for income property owners. And as you know, I've worked with income property owners for many, many years. And many of them enjoy their property. They enjoy their working on the property, the maintenance, and flipping properties until they get to a certain stage, Steve, where they don't anymore. And maybe they're towards retirement, maybe the spouse is just a little fatigued by the process. What are you going to do when you've accumulated 3 properties, 5, 10, and more? Mm-hmm. And so the Delaware Statutory Trust is simply a trust wrapped around real estate, usually institutional size. It gives these property owners a chance to think about selling a property, bringing the funds over to something that's managed, recapture all that depreciation, get income every month without any phone calls.
So what you're saying is they got tax benefits, they've got wonderful income that they had before, that income increases with inflation, and they don't get any phone calls on December 25th at 3 in the afternoon because somebody's toilet plopped up.
That's exactly right. And you know, our clients go through a series of cycles, and when you couldn't tell them about something like this 10 years ago because they were really enjoying managing and buying properties. And they get to a point where they're usually meeting with you, and maybe they don't have quite so much energy for that. The Delaware Statutory Trust becomes an option to take a look at.
That's wonderful. Now, here's the next step. We have people that have rental properties, and you know what? It's 2007. They bought it at the top of the market. The market tanked on them. And now it's 2015, and guess what? The value of that rental property has just got to the point where it's back to where they bought it at. And they say, you know what, I want to sell. And they sell it basically for their purchase price, but the problem is they depreciate it. Now they've got $125,000 in depreciation. And if you take a look at the next slide, you're going to see a tax slide there. And what you're going to see is those same people before, what they're using is an oil and gas contract to offset that depreciation, that recapture depreciation. And you can see there that they're getting a 90% deduction for whatever they put into the oil and gas contract. And as such, their taxes went from almost $50,000 down to $2,650. What a wonderful thing. We just saw gas prices go significantly down.
Yes, we did.
So tell me what happens with oil and gas with people who invest in that as an offset to offset their taxes here. How does it become profitable? How do they get their income back?
Well, we want to see oil prices go back up for sure. It's a little bit of an issue. We have to talk about the risk, and we will do so. However, the oil industry, gas industry, does not expect oil to stay down here very long. And the people that have invested in these contracts 2-3 years ago, they will see a reduction in their distribution for a while. So I don't want to throw any numbers out there because they're all different, but they think that this will be temporary. The new contracts will be based on lower drilling costs because drilling costs fluctuate with demand and oil prices. So these are things to talk about. You want to plug in the tax advantages. You want to look at expectations of income and kind of see where we're at. But this dramatic fall in oil and gas prices, we think that's temporary. And these are more geared for a longer term view, not a short term price movement.
Now, here's the next thing. This couple that we're talking about here in this example, you know what? They're not interested in 1031 exchange, Delaware statutory trust, but they're interested in something to do with real estate, maybe a different cycle. So they might be looking at what's called a real estate investment trust. Could you tell us a little bit about real estate investment trust?
The real estate investment trust is simply a large pool of real estate. Real estate investment trusts are usually a couple of hundred properties that are well thought out, where you can get tax advantage income. We can talk about the risk. Some of the risks are it's not liquid. So, it wants to make sense in your portfolio, right? But we can talk about other risks, but we've got bonds, treasury bills, annuities, this usually has a nice place somewhere in a portfolio. It's certainly something to be looked at.
So what you're really saying, when you take a look at oil and gas, real estate investment trust, or Delaware statutory trust, you really want to do the planning up front. Bill and I talked about a scenario where we have somebody who bought a house for $200,000, or a couple that bought a house for $200,000, and now it's at $1 million. And he talked about a scenario where they would end up buying a senior living house for about $500,000, and then have $700,000 left over. And they're looking to compress whatever they can get out of it from a tax perspective. And that's a wonderful way. They can either do a Delaware statutory trust or real estate investment trust, and they can create that income they need to generate from it to support the rest of their lives. Don, thanks again for being part of this show.
Thank you, Steve.
We wish you luck this year.
Thank you.